Hello everyone, welcome to yet another edition of In Conversation With here at CCR TV. We have with us today here a young violinist, an accomplished violinist. In fact, from playing in the village of Merseys to playing in one of the finest recording orchestras in Austria, we have with us today the Goan-born violinist Ashley Rego. Welcome to the CCR TV, Ashley.
Hello Velma, thank you for inviting me here.
Yeah. So to start off, could you tell our audience and all of us, what was your very first experience with music?
The first memory that I have of music is when my teacher took me to stage to perform my first solo performance, and I remember it was the Dinanath Mangeshkar Hall, Kala Academy.
Yes.
And I remember the stage is pretty long, or at least for a 6-year-old child, pretty long, and she was pushing me. I was really afraid of this thing. And my teacher at that time was Teresa Figueiredo. She is a cello teacher, but she also teaches violin. And I remember her telling me, yeah, go, you will be able to perform, you play so well, and everything. And she just gave me a slight nudge onto the stage. And I remember people speaking in the audience, and this walk to the middle of the stage, which took quite some time, especially when you're nervous.
True.
But I also remember the feeling after I finished playing. It was a very small piece, I think, Twinkle Twinkle or something this way.
How old were you then?
I was 6. I was
Okay.
6, and I think this was at the end of the semester that we all had to play some piece. And I remember the audience really clapping and really being very supportive, and me thinking to myself, whoa, actually people like this thing, I could do this more, you know.
Yeah.
So it was, I think it was an important part of loving the instrument or loving what I'm doing.
Okay. And could you tell us something about your journey from playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to playing at the Synchron Orchestra, where you've played for various movies like Top Gun Maverick, Brahmashastra, and various other Disney and Marvel movies? What is your whole journey like?
Well, it was adventurous, if I may put it this way, because I think it was pretty smooth in Goa. I had really a lot of support from people. Of course, as always, there were challenges, but these are also important. These also make you grow. Then there was a shift from being in Goa to being in other parts of India, being from Goa and then traveling to other parts of the world, experiencing music over there, looking what the standard is over there. You know, a small fish going into a pond, a sea, ocean, and then you see, whoa, and there's a lot to learn.
And study-wise, when you say learn, what was your, how did you study your music, your various stages from Kala to?
So I finished studying from Kalas, I think in 2002, 2003 probably. And from there I went on to play in orchestras. I was already playing in several orchestras in India. Later on, I think I started teaching in Kala Academy.
Okay.
And that's where my learning process kind of slowed down. Of course, I had a lot of opportunities from visiting artists who came to teach us. So this was, you know, short bursts of learning process.
Okay.
And later on, I really realized that there's so much that I could learn and I want to learn, and I need to take because I had completely exhausted all my means of learning in India. So I knew that I had to take the next big step and study somewhere abroad. And that's when I actually came across my teacher in Europe. His name is Radovan Lorkovic, and he was an assistant to a very well-known pedagogue, Max Rostal. And he took me under his wing. He actually came to Goa at the age of 81, you know, after having a few Skype lessons and stuff. And then he said, you know what, Ashley, I will take you to Switzerland where he lives, and I will train you over there. and I want to impart my knowledge over there. And he was really very kind. He was even hosting me over there. He taught me for free, and thankfully through his guidance I could audition for universities in Austria, and that's how I started then studying in Austria. I finished my studies over there in solo violin playing, the recital bachelor's and also the teaching bachelor's. And then currently, actually just last year, I got into the school in the, it's called the Landesmusikschule Freistadt. Freistadt is the name of the place.
Okay. In Austria.
In Austria, yes.
Okay.
And also at the synchron stage also, everything happened last year. So because it was quite difficult during the COVID times, you know, we hardly had so many gigs to play for or opportunities. But I think last year a lot of things worked out for me, especially after I got my new instrument. Somehow, I know it sounds very bad in a way that you get a new instrument and you get into the orchestra. Of course, your instrument does help you. Your playing can get you to a certain extent somewhere.
Yes.
But I think your instrument also plays a huge role.
So you mean a better make of the violin?
Yes.
Which make? You can tell for violinist student.
Yes. The maker of my violin is he lived during the 1800s.
Yes.
And the most well-known make of the violin, or the makers of violin, are Stradivari and Guarneri, or Guarneri del Gesù, as is famously known. And the maker of my violin used to copy them. Even during that time, during the 1800s, 1700s, there used to be makers who used to copy these famous makers in order to sell their instruments. And the maker of my instrument, he also copied Guarneri. In fact, there are a few Guarneris which were mistaken for the real Guarneri. So he used to make them so well, he used to copy them so well. So I have one of his instruments, and I was really lucky to find them, find it in Vienna.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And do you also give music lessons? Do you also teach the violin besides playing for the orchestra and your other gigs?
Yes. Like I said, I just started teaching at the Landesmusikschule Freistadt. And Landesmusikschule is like the state of Upper Austria. There's the Landesmusikschule. It consists of several schools in a state, and they all come under one institution called the Landesmusikschulwerk Oberösterreich. Which means there are about approximately at present, I think there are about 87 schools that come all under one institution. And so I teach in one of these schools.
Interesting. Okay, nice. Yeah. And also we would like to know about your, as far as your orchestra is concerned, you know, where have you performed, or for which movies, you know, you've performed. I mean, the orchestra has performed for some famous movies. Could you tell us something about that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, we are not a performing orchestra, so we don't go traveling, or at least not yet. But we are just based in Vienna, and we have a huge recording studio over there. And the way it works is that a composer, I don't know, let's say Hans Zimmer, wants to record something, then he will contact the contractor and say that, hey, I want all of this music recorded, and so the contractor is going to contact all the musicians.
A contractor?
Yes.
Not a conductor?
No.
Oh, okay.
A conductor is more in the line of making music. A contractor is going to find, or is going to be approached to produce music, like a music producer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, for example, a music producer may not necessarily make music or conduct the music, but he's the one who's writing music. Also could be. So the contractor, he contacts all the musicians. Of course, we have all auditioned for being in the pool of musicians that he contacts. So he has this whole database of all the musicians that he has auditioned, and then he says, hey, are you free on this day? We are having a recording. And you just say yes. Most of the times you don't even know what movie you're playing for. And sometimes we have to also sign a non-disclosure agreement that we don't disclose anything to them. Yes.
So you cannot tell which movie you're
Yes.
playing for. You can't tell others.
Yes, exactly. Because some of the times, like let's say for movie X, there is a scene. This person is jumping over the cliff, and this person dies, or something this way. So it just spoils the surprise for the viewers at the end.
Okay.
So of course we need to sign a non-disclosure agreement that we don't disclose anything, we don't share the music with anyone, which is quite standard and understandable.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. And some of the movies you've played for?
So the orchestra has recorded for a lot of movies that I only came to know later on, because then they put posters.
Okay.
But me personally, I remember playing for Brahmastra, for
Okay.
example. I remember it so well because it's a Bollywood movie, you know, something
Yes.
close to home
Yeah.
for me. But
Nice.
also, some viewers may know of a movie now that has come, Ant-Man and the
Okay.
Wasp, Quantumania.
Nice.
So
okay.
we also recorded for that. For Lord of the Rings, it's the series Lord of the Rings
Yes.
series,
Yes.
Rings of Power. For that also we recorded. So yeah, I think it's quite exciting to do.
Of course. Nice,
works.
nice. And what about pre-concert rituals? I mean, when you have a concert, is there like a whole ritual that you as a musician or with a group of musicians that you go through? This is for the benefit of musicians who are watching
Yes,
us.
I think everyone does his or her own ritual. Me personally, I try to keep myself calm on the day of the concert, that I'm mentally primed, because physically you can already do so much, you have already practiced. Normally, most of the musicians, they are physically fit, prime. It's the mental fortitude that you need, and that's the thing that I do for myself. I need really to tell myself it's going to be good, it's going to be okay, you play well, you've prepared. So it's a lot of positive talk
To yourself.
to yourself, yes, because you get something negative in your mind and it sticks. So that's my ritual, if at all. I try to keep myself more mentally strong.
And a simple question, but do you still ever, after playing for such orchestras and all around the world, do you still get nervous before a performance? Yes?
For orchestras, not so much, no. For orchestras, it's really more enjoying and everything. For solos, of course, on the day of the concert, you feel nervous. But lately, I've had the luck, or I don't know, you may call it anything, but I've had this feeling of before I go to the stage, okay, I'm nervous, I'm excited about the concert, but as soon as I go on the stage, there's this feeling of calm, there's this feeling of I want to create an atmosphere over there. You're like a performer, a magician. You want to create an atmosphere for people, and at the end of the day, people want to hear some good music. They want to enjoy.
Yes.
So nowadays it's getting better. The more I play solos, the better it gets.
And what about your tour performances? Where have you performed? I know it's around the world, but could you tell us something?
Yes.
Or any of your highlights in your career till now?
I think one of the main highlights was in Canada, because there was a collaboration. I was at that time the concertmaster of the National Youth Orchestra of India, and we had a collaboration with the National Youth Orchestra of Canada.
Okay.
And I remember we had it was like a 3-month process where we had to play chamber music work, you play some quartet music work, you play in the orchestra, and at the end of this at the end of the 2-month period, you have 1 month of traveling all over. We traveled all over Canada, and also in the US we performed over there, and this was a lot of fun actually.
Okay. Okay. And what are the other places that you've performed, your tours?
I performed in Spain, also in Germany a lot. There are lots of opportunities to perform in Germany. Germany is huge, and there are lots of concerts happening over there. But also in Moscow, thanks to the SOI, the Symphony Orchestra of India, which I was a part of for 2.5 years, I presume. Yes. And now in several cities in Europe, because everything is so close, you know.
Yes.
You just imagine, like if you imagine Europe and India, India is so huge actually, and when we say, we are just going to Delhi and all, it's like in Europe going to another country, you know.
Yeah.
So everything is pretty close, and you can travel by train everywhere.
And a quick question, are there any Goans that you come across when you play for these other orchestras or tours? Goans?
Yes, in Canada I met a lot of Goans, I must say. In Europe, not so much.
Okay.
In Europe, not so much. Or at least during the tour, not. But in Switzerland, actually, there's a Goan. Her name is Christina Koch, and she has also a daughter who plays the violin, and really good, really good. She plays in the Deutsche Oper, which is a very prestigious orchestra in Germany. And so I play with her actually every Christmas. Yeah,
Nice.
it's become kind of a ritual because I always visit my professor in Switzerland, and I always play with Christina over there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what about your compositions? Have you composed anything so far
Yes.
that you can share with us?
I did compose a few compositions when I was studying, because I had to also do a piano exam other than playing the violin. And our syllabus also said that we need to play 3 pieces of a certain, difficulty level. And I guess I was being pretty lazy because I didn't want to learn 3 pieces on the piano. I said I will just compose them, you know. So I just composed 3 pieces for the piano and piano flute, piano violin, piano, I believe, marimba.
Oh.
Yes, because my friend played the marimba during that time, and I said, yeah, I'm going to compose something for the marimba.
Okay.
So, yeah, those were my early on
These were
compositions.
options for the exam?
No, you can compose for any instrument that you want, but you need to have either 3 of your own compositions or 3 pieces of a certain standard that you need to play, other than the other, like Bach inventions or something this way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and which is one of the most, let's say, difficult, if you've had a difficult piece that you've composed, is there anything that you would consider that you really had to put your heart and mind and into your composition?
Currently, I'm...
Or the last composition that you've come up with, anything that
Yes.
you would like to share?
Recently, I was doing a project with a dancer. It was reinventing Bach's composition, that is the chaconne, which is supposed to be like the holy grail of violin playing, because it's supposed to be one of the most difficult pieces ever written for the violin. It's usually in 2, 3 or sometimes 4 voices. And I think reinventing this thing was quite difficult. It was not really composing. I had to also, of course, compose some things around it, but to even compose something around it was a challenge for me. But currently I'm working with my girlfriend, who's a dancer, and also with an actress who's a friend of ours, on a project called My Skin, which deals with your skin color and how it's perceived abroad, or how it's perceived already over here in India or in Goa. And with that...
When you say project, is it a movie? What is it?
No, we are doing a performance. So it's a stage performance where I play and the 3 of us, we interact with each other with 3 different disciplines, you know. So it's music, dance, and Schauspiel, acting, coming together. You know, 3 interdisciplinary fields coming together. Yeah, to
on this concept of skin color.
Yes, exactly. And so right now I'm working on this.
And if given a chance, who would you like to really collaborate with, your dream person? Is there anyone on your mind that you ever thought of that you would like to collaborate with someone in the long run?
I actually always wanted to play with someone from the Vienna Philharmonic, because this is like the best orchestras in the world. You'll always hear the Vienna Philharmonic. And actually, I did get a chance to play with the concertmaster of the Vienna Philharmonic, who's a very, very nice person, very humble person. Thrice a year, we always have we have an orchestra in Linz called Symphonia Christkönig, which means the Symphony of Christ the King.
Okay.
It's from this church, from this parish.
Okay.
And we have a collaboration with the Vienna Philharmonic. That thrice a year we always play with members of the Vienna Philharmonic. So I feel like I'm living the dream.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And when we talk about compositions, I mean, going back to your composing, could you tell what is your composition process like? How do you go about composing say, let's say a simple piece for, youngsters who may be watching this? What is a composition process like?
With me, because with a lot of people, I know it can be quite different. But with me, it usually starts with a dream.
Okay.
So I hear something in a dream, and I'm like waking up next morning, and I feel like, oh, I need to jot this thing down, or I need to just write this thing down, and then I keep on adding layers on top of this.
Okay.
So inspiration, at least to me, comes through dream, or sometimes when you're traveling. There's wind in your ears, and sometimes you just hear some weird sounds, and you just feel like, hey, I can make a piece out of this thing. So
Nice. Any other instruments that you play besides the violin?
Oh yes, I play the piano, which I love playing on. I play on an instrument called C-board.
Okay.
So it's like a keyboard, but it's called a C-board because there are 5 dimensions to this instrument. It responds to your pressure. It responds to the touch, to how you lift the keys, how fast you lift the keys. It's like a keyboard, but you can also slide, just like a violin. So it's like a violin fingerboard and a piano mixed together.
C-board.
Yeah, C-board.
Okay.
Very nice instrument.
Interesting. And for musicians watching us, what's the best and worst thing about being a musician that you have felt? Any point in your life where you felt like quitting? Any point in your life where people pushed you and gave you advice as an upcoming musician? Let's say best and worst advice that you would like to, best and worst thing rather about being a musician.
I think the best advice that I got was people will say good things about you, people will say bad things about you, and see how you can take both of these things constructively. Take the good things, judge for yourself whether this is really good. If it's good, pat your back and say like, well done, but let's go further. Let's see how you can improve this thing. And when people say bad things about you, or let's say constructive things, bad things is maybe a strong word, then think whether this is really true, because often it could be true. Sometimes it could be not true. If it's not true, just from one ear to the other, throw it out. But if these things are true, these things can be your greatest teachers actually, and these people can be your greatest teachers. You can say, hey, thank you for your suggestion, and I will try to improve on this thing. And those are the things that can actually make you evolve into the next, I don't know, Mozart or something.
And any advice for any upcoming musicians who are watching you right now that you can see?
Yeah, music, especially in India, I think it could be pretty hard, especially the Western classical field. You can only get this far. But if you're really passionate about music, I would say just don't give up, because every step that you take has some progress in it.
And one last question. Many successful people in life always have some sort of a motto or a role model or something. for you when you go up on stage, what is your driving force, your motto or your driving force? What is it that really, gives you all that energy to put in your bestest?
This is something that I discovered quite recently, is that when you put yourself forward on stage, it usually doesn't work. But when you put your love for what you're doing, your love for music, in my case, for example, your love for music, and this is what you want to show people, that you love doing what you're doing, this is usually what really works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Ashley, for making the time for us here at CCR TV. And thank you to the audience too. And we will definitely have yet another edition of In Conversation with. Till we meet again, God be with us.